Hello, wonderful people. Welcome back to Father and Daughter Podcast with the one and only Ria.
And myself, the one and only Mem. There's only one Mem in this world, and that is me. Yeah? Mem.
There is no one like you, that is for sure. That's when you're meant to say there is no one like you either.
There's no one like you, neither.
No,
There's only one Ria in my life, girl.
Aww.
And that is you.
So guys, hope you're doing well. Back for another podcast. Last podcast was a little bit of I'd say a debrief on the documentary that we uploaded at the cemetery. We touched a little bit on grief. We touched a little bit on the overall concept of death. The stigma behind it. I'm a little bit out of breath. Can you hear me?
I'm the same. I'm loose.
Yeah, we went into it a little bit. Didn't go too deep into it because we never want to give too much away, do we? So we hope you enjoyed the last episode. And again, if you haven't seen our last documentary in the cemetery, please do go and check that out. But today we're going to be discussing another topic, another really strong subject in our book. Before we get into it though, how are you today?
I'm alright.
Because we never do this part to the podcast.
I'm alright. So just quick one. I never slept a wink last night.
Why didn't you sleep a wink?
Not a wink. Alright. So what actually happened was I watched the football. I ate before. I drank half a glass of Dr. Pepper. I went up. I came down. No, I didn't. I had a bath. I came down. I had another glass of Dr. Pepper.
How comes you had Dr. Pepper?
What's that in the fridge then?
No, it is Dr. Pepper, but how comes that was your choice of drink?
I don't know. I don't know what it was. I fancied something sweet and it hit the spot. I'm not going to lie. And then when I got into bed and I closed my eyes, my eyeballs wouldn't rest.
Yeah, Dad's that kind of man. He won't have a cup of tea. He won't have anything that's got like a bit of caffeine
sugar
in it. Yeah, past a certain time.
But when I had it, I got into bed and I closed my eyes and I felt like, God, it seems like the lights are still on. It's like I'd done a bit of gear. And I closed my eyes and I was like, oh my God, what is going on here? Like my eyes were still twitching inside while my lids were shut, and I was like, it was becoming irritating. I was like, oh no, what's going on here? And not thinking what it was, and then I realised, shit, I drank Dr. Pepper. And then I was up all night. I couldn't switch off.
When you say you're up all night, is that like falling asleep a little bit, waking up?
No, my eyes were closed the whole night. But I was awake in my closed eyes.
I see.
I was like, yeah, bro, you alright?
Okay.
Yeah.
So today you've been a bit tired.
I've been alright.
Yeah.
I've been alright. But
I actually had a really good night's sleep last night. I fell asleep so quickly. And I woke up feeling pretty good about today.
How you been?
I thought you'd never ask.
How you been?
Yeah, I've been good, you know. I've been good. You know how it is, innit, Dad? Just getting through, pushing through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I've asked you a question. You should be telling me. Come on.
I'm telling you. No.
You asked me to ask you.
Yeah, no, I've been good.
You're pushing through.
Yeah,
pushing through.
You know, I've lost a little bit more weight. Happy about that one. My sister's gone on holiday today, and we're looking after her dog, little Nova.
God, you got to see this little dog.
She's so gorgeous. But yeah, I'm gonna miss her.
Massive. It is about this big.
She's a beautiful little dog, but now we've got the responsibility of looking after her for the next 5 days. But yeah, Dad, overall I'm good, feeling positive, productive.
Good. So today's subject is a touchy subject. In the book. See what it is. It's in the book. I'm not going to mention what it is right now. And it's in the book. Entwined in the book in a funny way.
What do you mean? Like,
it isn't direct. There's nothing direct, but you can feel it. You can feel it in the air. Do you get what I mean? Like, you know it's there.
Yeah.
You know, And what we're going to be talking about, go on and tell them.
All right. So we are going to be talking about the very controversial subject, very important subject, affects millions of people all around the world, and it's a very serious subject in itself, and that is racism. Opinions differ, people have different opinions. Some would argue that racism is dead, some would argue racism still exists. Many people have been victims to it. There have been many perpetrators of racism. And yeah, we're just going to talk about it today and how it is very strong. I say a very strong subject, but like you just said, it's not something that is a consistent topic throughout. It's not consistent topic. But I do believe the way in which it is put in the book gives people, readers, a little bit more of a better understanding of character development. Mm-hmm. Do you understand where I'm coming from? I feel like you often see how people are, never really knowing what they have experienced or been through to get to where they are. So I feel like it's one of those ingredients that has contributed to the person you've become. Do you understand what I mean? So yeah, we're going to talk about that today.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, you being sort of 20 years younger than me, as much as we can talk about what is going on in the book, I mean, me looking at you, I mean, how do you see how racism, I mean, when I say racism to you, what's the first couple of things that pop to your head? Have you seen racism firsthand in your eye, in front of you? Do you think it's about?
See, it's a weird one because obviously times are very different today than what they were when you were a child, and obviously older than that. I know times are very different. I do believe that things have got better than what they were. It's evident things have gotten better. But I still do believe that racism exists, and I think it's more to do with stereotyping. I do believe that is still existing. Yeah, I do.
What do you mean by stereotyping?
Stereotyping.
By looking at a person and think? What do you mean stereotyping?
Well, you know what stereotyping means.
No, I know what that means, but
yeah.
who would you be looking at and thinking there's stereotyping going on? I mean...
Well, I know stereotyping happens on a daily basis to people. So the colour of your skin, or, you know, if you look different to the person that's thinking something, stereotyping can occur.
Okay. I didn't think that would happen in today's world, especially in like your community, or not your community, your age group, you know, give or take 5 years.
I'm not saying necessarily within my age group or my generation, so to speak, but obviously in this world we mingle with people outside of our age brackets. So therefore I can still be a witness to it. It doesn't have to be necessarily within my friendship group or my social group, but I've definitely witnessed that many a times.
Okay.
I'd say so much like racial profiling, so to speak.
Because I very rarely see it today.
You very rarely see it.
Very rarely see it. And I don't know if it's because I don't look for it. I don't, you know, I see obviously the areas that we are allocated to. Example, you know, Deptford is very multicultural. You know, where we live now is very multicultural. So it's not going to be very unusual if you see someone from a black community and someone from the white community holding hands and walking down the road. You know, I'm seeing a lot of, you know, even when I see two Asian guys, I mean, an Asian couple, one will be Bangladeshi and the other one will be Pakistani, and they're coming together. It's very, I don't see it in my face anymore. Yeah. It's probably there. Maybe because I have a different outlook now. I'm older. I don't want to see it. Yeah. I don't want to go out looking for it. but as a whole as today, I'm glad it's like that. You know, I wouldn't want you to feel out of place in other way. Everywhere you go, I wouldn't want someone to go, where are you from? What country you come from? I wouldn't want that to be thrown upon you.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
I get you. Overall, what are your views on racism?
My views on racism.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you know, there's two sides of racism, isn't there? There's someone who's racist, and there's someone, it's like a victim, yeah, and someone who is the one who's got the accusations, or you know what I mean, who's marking the cards, yeah. So, on what part of that are you going to be? So, when you say what is my views on racism, it's on what side of the wall am I? You know, when I look at today's world. I'm on none of the walls. You know, understand what I mean? I don't.
No, what do you mean?
So, because right now I don't see racism, and I don't have a racist attitude, or I don't stereotype anyone, or I don't look at someone and go, oh, you're less than them, or I'm more than you.
You don't discriminate.
I don't discriminate. That's the word. Anyone. I don't really have racism in my life. I know certain people that are racist. I tend not to talk. I tend not to have the conversation. If they bring something up, I tend to steer away from the conversation of that, because not that I will get dragged into it. It's just I will say something
to them.
To them, yeah. I'll say something. I mean, like, we do have a family member who I wouldn't call them racist, but I would call them very opinionated, you know, very stereotypical, and I can't talk about certain subjects to them because my back goes up, and I can get a bit defensive, and I think it's really sad as well, because it's a lack of education.
100%.
And where I think it's a lack of education, I just say to myself, I wish you was educated a little bit more so you could embrace someone else's culture and really enjoy it and take it in. Because if you can do that, what you tend to find is that you share your own culture. So as much as me taking, say, I don't know, a Bangladeshi or a Pakistani or a Chinese or a Vietnamese, I mean, it doesn't always have to be someone from the black community. It can be someone from other communities. There's, you know, hundreds of different types of communities out there. By me taking on their culture, it allows me to express mine.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? Because I'm like, oh, if you can tell me yours, I can tell you mine. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I'm not going to become Bangladeshi. No. I'm not going to become a Pakistani. I'm not going to come from Jamaica. I'm Turkish Cypriot who was born here from a Turkish culture, and I'm not going to change. I'm proud of it, and I'm not going to say I'm better than anyone else. So getting back to the actual question that you asked me was, how do I see racism? How I see racism today is not how I saw racism 35 years ago. Okay. Yeah.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
I think because it's a completely different way today in London. You know, like, Deptford's always been multicultural, and you know, Bermondsey hasn't. You know, it's always had, you know, different cultures in it, but everyone's stuck themselves.
So would you say Bermondsey was a predominantly white area?
Yeah. You're going to find there's still a lot of areas that are dominant white today. You know, we just got to go out to a little bit to Kent. You know, we just got to go out a little bit to, say, I don't know, Gillingham, Chatham, Rochester. I can even go through some areas near Dartford. And the dominant white. And you know that there is racism there. You can see it because difference creates fear. Difference, you know, a lot of people don't want to know about other cultures. You know, if I went up to someone in the middle of, I don't know, some dominant white area, I'm like, yeah, mate, I'm Turkish. They're like, yeah, really? I don't really want to know. And it's understandable, because their mentality might not be able to absorb it. But it's not a multicultural area. You know, it's more of a dominant white area. But yeah, how it was different from when we was kids, times have changed. And what you tend to find is, you know, when I was growing up, they were changing at that time. They were changing. People were in conflict with themselves. You know, you got to remember, as much as there was racism with the white community, there was racism from the black community. And there was racism from the Turkish community. There was racism from other communities. Now, we say it's racism. Racism is something when you inflict something on someone else, if it's verbally or violent. Is that right? Physical or violent. That's racist. Is that right? If I don't say it and I don't physically show you it, I might have a difference in my head. If I don't say it, does that make me racist?
Well, you have racist
but you don't know
views.
I am.
It doesn't matter.
I know, but that's my internal thing. But it's not a racist is if there's two people involved.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? If there's two people involved, it becomes racist. But if I'm locked in my own...
However, you could base decisions off of that racist mind frame that you have. It wouldn't necessarily be voicing that those were your reasons for making that decision. But the decision you made was based off of an opinion that you've internally got that ultimately is down to race. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't want to integrate with another race. Yeah, I don't want to. But if I'm not putting myself into a decision to make a decision, I'm not racist. Did you get what I mean there?
I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah? So if I'm not putting myself in a position to make a decision, for me to be verbally or physically making a move, I don't become racist. If I keep myself in a community that is just surrounded by my own people, I'm not being racist. I'm just staying in my own kind. I'm not allowing myself to be racist. Did you get what I mean by that?
Yeah, I do. But then I feel like that lack of not lack of interest, but I feel like because you're mainly, not you per se, I'm talking about like an individual, would be restricting themselves and keeping themselves in a specific community, which would be their own.
And that is why I say to you, I see this in places like Chatham, Matham, Datham, wherever. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
They're not necessarily doing anything wrong.
They're not
but
doing
from
anything
the outside,
wrong,
you could sense, that their reasoning is for, I get you.
At the end of the day, if I broke down, the guy would probably stop and help me. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Or whatever. It's just nothing malicious. So racism itself, unless I'm going round and I'm spraying on walls and, you know, no Turks, no Indians, no this, no that, whatever, you know, or I'm inflicting something verbally to people or physically, you know, it's that's when it becomes a little bit out of hand.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it is different from when I was younger to when I am today.
Okay, understood. So have you, throughout your whole, I'd say 47, but you're 48 now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Throughout your 48 years of living, have you ever been a victim of racism?
Yeah. I just had a conversation today with my cousin on the phone. What was it yesterday? And, you know, we was talking about the football. And he went, I used to hate being Turkish at school because England always used to beat us, you know, and beat Turkey. Even though I'm not from Turkey, we're Cypriot, but we relate in that way. And he was talking about how when England beat Turkey at football, he would get annihilated, but he wouldn't get annihilated about just football. He would get annihilated about his race. You know, Turkey, they're shit. They got stuff. They're this, they're that. Only good for one thing. And I understood him because you saying to me, did I ever encounter any racism? Yeah, I did. You would do. It's kids talk a lot. Kids you know, they say things without thinking. You know, they carry things on from their own home. You know, if they come from a little bit of a racial background where racism is spoken openly, you know, these kids, if they don't hold their tongue, they can easily say it at school, which I did have it quite a lot. I mean, there was you know, there was a stage. There was the documentary that we went down to Bermondsey, and I spoke about a chapter in the book where that was a racist episode, which went on and on and on. And all I tried to do was protect myself and my family in a way. Do you get what I mean? And I learned from that moment that I wasn't going to put up with it, and I never did. So every time I encountered someone that would be a little bit racist, I would confront them. I would never hold back, because I knew deep down, and my dad taught me this: if you allow something to carry on, it will grow. So when I ever encountered some sort of racism, whatever it was, I would put a stop to it straight away, even if it meant me just lifting my fists up and having a go. And it was because I would not want him to carry on saying them things to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, would I ever encounter racism as a kid? Yeah, even, I'll be honest with you, I was just thinking about it the other day. Even when we moved up to Catford, you know, I had people that lived on my road that were racist, and I used to knock about with them. And now I think about him, I remember walking through Bromley and I saw him. And when I saw the kid that was racist, well racist, I'm on about proper racist, you know, he was just horrible. I don't know why I knocked about with him. Maybe because we lived on the same road. We related in some sort of way or another. And he went to my secondary school.
So he was racist, but not racist to you?
He wasn't racist to me. He said racist remarks, but I knew if I wasn't around,
you don't know what he
I don't know what he'd be saying. And his family knew my family, and I saw him in Bromley, and I just looked at him and I thought, what a sad weirdo. This is when he was grown up, you know. I think it was only about 6 years ago, and I saw him and I thought, God, what a sad person. And he had so much hatred in him as a kid. And I was like, where does he get this from? And I knew he got it from his dad. His dad was the same. And you got to remember, it's when there's change in community, you know, when a different, I would say, race or different type of community starts to get bigger and more verbally and more controlling, and start to have power in the area, and have businesses and become part of council and part of government, that person that's been living in that certain way can't face change, and the only way they can do is to fight back and create an army behind him to go, look, you see what I mean? But in general, it's going through the transition, especially what London did. You know, we have become a really multicultural society in London, which is great. I think it's great.
So I feel like alongside racism, I think what word comes to mind is like acceptance. Why do you feel like acceptance is important in that sense?
Acceptance is two types of acceptance.
Because we speak about acceptance a few times, in multiple different ways. And
acceptance is an external and an internal word. So if I've got problems going on in myself, I've got to accept it's happening. And acceptance as well is if I'm accepting myself to a community. So acceptance means is giving in. I'm giving in. I've allowed myself to submit. I submitted myself to this problem that I have, and I have to face it now. I don't want to ignore it. I'm submitting myself to a community. So when we use the word acceptance, we are submitting ourselves. So when I say to you about racism as a child, I accepted myself into different types of communities: white communities, from and from to the black community. So, and what it was I just wanted acceptance. So for me to be accepted and have some sort of community friends, you know, I want to be associated with people. I wanted to be laugh and play football with people and whatever, you know.
You just wanted to enjoy life.
Yeah, I didn't want to be on my own. So what you tend to find was, well, as we was growing up, you did find that you had, like, you know, all the white boys would knock about with each other, all the black boys would knock about with each other, all the Turkish boys would knock about with each other, but you can see where everyone was segregated with each other, and I was a bit like.
Did you knock about with the Turkish boys then?
Not at the beginning, no.
No. Why not?
Because what actually happens is it's you're probably gonna understand what I'm saying. When you first start school, you do not know no one.
Yeah.
All you know is the people in your class. So what I do is you start off from the person you sit next to. So when I started my first year in my secondary school and I sat next to Dave became my mate.
I know what you mean.
So I didn't know no one else. I knew a few people that came from my previous school, but they're in different classes. So I'm not really. So when I had a break, I would probably go and say, "Oh, you're what? How are you getting on to them?" But coming back to my classes, that's who I would be associated. So getting to know him, and then what would happen is it becomes more broader as time goes on, and I get to know Dave, but Dave knows Peter, and Peter knows him, but then you start realising. These are the white boys here. Yeah, these boys are from, I don't know, Sydenham, or they're from Peckham, or they're from Bermondsey. And then all of a sudden I go to another class, I'm next to my mate Rodney, you know, and he's a black guy, black kid, and I got to know him, and he lives just down the road from me, but he knows a Turkish kid. So before you know it, by the time you've got into like the third year of school, all these groups are formed. Do you understand what I mean? And you've drifted from one to another. I might end up drifting to the white group, but I just find that they're a little bit too like this, and I go into the black group and they're just a little bit too like that. And they're too good at football, or this one is just too good at that. So I found it hard to get accepted into these groups. So what actually happened was we actually ended up with a group that used to meet outside school time, and that's who became my true friends.
Okay, and you were all mixture.
And we was all mixture, and that was and this is gospel, no lie, that was Greek, Turkish, white, Jamaican, mixed race, and I'm on about they're from Peckham, Evergreen, that's Catford, Lewisham, Downham, Bromley, Deptford, all over, and we'd all meet up and we all clicked.
Yeah,
we all clicked. There was something about the click that I felt like us as one, we all felt that same thing. Like I written a book that time. I mean, do you get what I mean by that? So, and obviously we all had our own positioning in our groups.
Yeah.
You know, one was an hard nut, the other one was a good looking fella, the other one was a smart one, the other one bought the car first. I don't know what I was.
I was going to ask you, what role did you play?
I don't know. I ain't got a clue. I think I was just more into trying to make money.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what I was.
You were the grafter.
Huh?
You were the grafter.
Yeah, I think I was more of the braver one out of them all.
See, I'd think you would be the funny one.
No, I was the funny one.
Yeah,
well. But we was all funny.
Yeah, I get you.
We was all funny. We all had our.
You all shared this.
Yeah, we all shared our little thing. We all got into drugs at the same time. You know, we all got into drinking at the same time. We all got into driving cars at the same time. And what happened was I had other friends in other places that and my cousins would knock about with these lot as well, and their cousins would knock about, and you could see it was growing. They had friends from North London, I had friends from down in Bermondsey, I had friends from up in Catford, and we'd all lock in and you'd all trust each other, because you know him, he knows me, he knows you, he knows me, and that was it. And we all we all, at that time, and I must admit, it was a beautiful time being in such a mixed culture. And that was when I can actually honestly say that London itself was it was coming to the end of this really, stereotypical thing where you could see there was a lot of multicultural integrating. You know what I mean? I read the book, or we read the book. There is differences in it. When someone else would read it, they will say, "God, that sounds racist," or that's part of racism. But at that time, it was like different levels and different speeds of people trying to connect, and connecting was the problem. You know what I mean? And acceptance was the most important thing, because one of the communities that we're in the middle of have to submit themselves, to accept you to come into it. And it's so important that when we talk about racism, and we can always go back to the podcast when we talk about immigration and integration. The formula of the both is exactly the same. You understand what I mean? Because when we spoke about immigration, there was an element of racism in that podcast. You know what I mean? Because we're different, or not we're different, but our parents were different, and they were migrated over, and they were integrating. But that was the same even with us, and we was born here because we was trying to integrate into different communities. So even when we was doing the immigration one, I felt like there was quite a lot of racism involved in that. Not me saying I'm racist, but you could see how there was two different cultures.
I get you. How do you think being a victim of racism can affect someone?
Oh, big time. Big time. Because if you actually think about it, I mean, at the end of the day, like I don't want to use like harsh words or anything, but if you've got sort of like, I'm not always gonna say a white guy against a black guy. I'm not always gonna say that. It can always be like a black guy against a white guy. Yeah, and I'm just gonna put it this way. The black guy becomes rather racist against a white guy. And in what way he's going to be racist, if he's going to be violent, if he's going to be verbal, if he's going to, is he going to nag him every day? You know what I mean? And this person actually starts looking at this person, and he starts to stereotype everyone about him. All the black community are like this, and all the white communities are like this. So it's really hard for me to always say like the black community or the white community, because I don't want anyone to misunderstand me. All right, but it's very important that if I just do black and white, it's just straightforward. People understand. You got to remember that could be that could be Muslim, Christian. That can be that could be like Pakistani and Indian. That could be Vietnamese and Chinese. That could be like even Sierra Leone with Ghanaian. They're fighting all the time. There's always this thing of conflict. It starts with humans just love to believe they're supreme. And this is what I think is the problem.
Yeah.
You always protect who you are. Me, I'm Turkish. We're the best race in the world. Of course we're not. But I'm Turkish. You're a big-headed idiot. It's what you do. It's what you say. You're going to have like a guy that's a Jamaican. He's going to say, we're the best race in the world. An English guy. We're the most cleverest guys.
Do you know what's funny as well? I just picked up on it. I bet if we watch the past like 4 podcasts, I bet you've said Jamaican about 5 times.
Because I have a lot of Jamaican friends.
I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but I'm just saying I keep picking up Jamaican.
Yeah, but I have a lot of Jamaican friends, so I feel like, my friends who are Jamaican, that they watch this. If I feel like I don't hurt their feelings,
Yeah, of course.
I don't feel like I've hurt anyone's feelings. And if my friends can turn around and go, "Mem, just I watched your podcast. I thought it was funny, mate." You know what I mean? And I feel like, did I offend you? No, that's all right. I don't need to worry now. You understand what I mean? And so that's why, you know, I never had any African friends.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have any African friends. Who did I have that was an African friend? Yeah, I did have one actually. Was it Femi? I had an African guy, African friend called Femi. He was a good kid actually. But we never carried on being friends after when we left school. What was your question?
Drifted off.
Yeah.
It was, how can it affect someone to be a victim of racism?
I think it can affect people in a big way. In a big way. You know, trust kicks in. I don't trust anyone no more. I don't want to go out anymore. I don't want to look at anyone. You know, they don't want to infuse any pain on themselves, and they feel like if I communicate in a different culture, I'm gonna get it. You know what I mean? And they become a bit racist, you know, because, you know, racism creates racism.
Yeah, I do believe that too.
You know?
Yeah.
So if I sit here and I start going, hey, you Turkish git or whatever, and I'm just going to use my community, all right? Because I don't want to hurt anyone else. You Turkish cunt, you don't belong in this fucking country. Fuck off back to Turkey. You and your fucking kebab shops and your fish and chip shops. You come over here and take all the fucking money. Who do you fucking think you are? Yeah? Turkish geezer's going to turn around and go, who the fuck do you think you are, mate? I come here, I take your money, and there's that. It's creating fucking conflict.
Yeah.
It creates war because us as individuals, us individuals as humans, yeah, we protect our pride.
Yeah.
You know, we just protect it. We all believe individually we are supreme. Yeah, and this is why I feel like if you have a few of these people that come together that believe they're supreme, they come from the same background, then they start to create a bit of a movement, and the hatred becomes bigger.
Yeah,
because they can push on each other. You know, I mean, I listen to some people. What's the one? Have you heard of Tommy Robinson? Tommy Robinson is I wouldn't say he's the front man of the English. I'm not going to say what it is. They know what it is, but it's about, you know, I would say it's an English movement. And some of the things he says, I get it, I understand, but the thing that I don't get is that when he talks about these things, it's a breakdown in communities, and it's a breakdown in society. It's a breakdown. It's a breakdown in government. It's a breakdown in policing. It's a breakdown in our councils, and it's allowing certain movements to what's the word? Take advantage. And anyone, it don't matter what colour they are, where they're from, if there's room to take advantage, they would. And it doesn't matter if it's financially, sexually, it doesn't matter what it is, they will take advantage if they know they can do it and get away with it. So when I hear this Tommy Robinson sometimes, and he goes on a lot, bam, 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 I respect him for fucking opening his mouth and saying what he's got to say. You know, because he himself, you know, has a right to. Well, we all have a freedom of speech in this country. I'm saying it right now. And I feel like it should be said a little bit more, but I don't think there should be a divide in what he does. I don't think there should be a divide. I don't think that he should say more, you know, our community. You know, a community is one as whole. And I think he should invite all communities into that. You know, just him calling it the English, whatever it is, front or whatever. You know, that itself, you know, it's a bit stereotypical. It makes people think, oh, I don't want to be part of that, you know. But if he, you know, I think if he renamed it and called it like the People's Party, yeah, I think he'd have a lot of followers from a lot of different cultures that would understand him. But and then sometimes he does talk a lot of bollocks as well. You know, he's had a journey, and I respect him for his journey. You know, and so yeah.
So another question: why do you think, we touched on this a little bit? Well, you did when you were explaining your answer to a previous question. But how do you think somebody develops racist views? Like, do you believe people are born racist? What do you think contributes to
I think it's
developing racial?
Yeah, I think it's all to do with your surroundings. You know how different communities roll around you. You know what you tend to find if certain communities, just stick to themselves. Other communities look at them and they mark them. They go, look at them. They don't look at them. Look at them. You know. But you know what? What was the question again?
Why do you think people develop racist
It's to
views?
do with their surroundings. It's to do with their surroundings.
Because we talk a lot about being a product of your environment, don't we?
100%. I'll always say it. I say it again and again. If you are brought up in a household that creates love and acceptance, and your dad reads books about Africa and reads books about Asia and reads books about all different types of continents and foods and history and this, and he's teaching you about all these things, and when he's cooking food from all over the world, and he's got friends from different communities. That child's growing up not racist at all. But if he's growing up in an environment where he's not being taught none of these things, and and he's just being one-lined all the way through, the parent is teaching that kid not to be liberated. Liberated means that you can be educated in other ways that don't always have to affect your life, but it makes you understand other people's life, that allows you to live a freer life without stereotyping someone. You know what I mean? If I go, oh, he's going to stab you, or he's going to rob you, or he's going to sell you drugs, oh, he's a car thief, oh, he's a burglar, he's a crackhead, he's a puffhead. Do you understand what I mean? You can't say these things, so yeah, so it's all to do with your surroundings. And the biggest problem that we have as well is that if you yourself have a pretty good home life, but you have a street life, your street life can convert you as well. Do you understand what I mean? Because you're not feeling that bond at home. You feel that bond more on the street. So you being on the street, you can end up associating yourself with certain certain groups of people. They might be criminal, they might be racist, they might be educated, they might be bankers, they might be golfers, they might, you understand what I mean? And you just associate yourself with them.
Okay.
I mean, that's how much times have changed. I mean, I watch television today, and I see adverts, and you can see adverts. They always try to do like, the black lady and the white man, or the white man and the black lady, half-caste kids in it now. You see it on. Do you get what I mean? They do adverts with it, so they're trying not to be too one way. They're trying to be mixed cultured with it, which is lovely to see. Even when you see films and stuff like that, you see. You got old westerns, with black guys in it. I don't know if there was black guys in old westerns back in the day, but they try to do it because it sells, doesn't it? And you won't get the people out there that will say, oh, that's racist because there's only white people.
It's inclusive.
It's inclusive, yeah. But me growing up, I mean, there's very borderline racist programs on television. They were just like your everyday sitcoms. I mean, when I think back, I can remember watching 40 Towers. And that was, when I think about it, and, you had 40 and he had his Spanish waiters, he was racist. The way he used to treat them. Only Fools and Horses. I love Only Fools and Horses. But if you actually watch that, there's an element of racism in it, borderline racism. Steptoe and Son. You won't know these things because they'd stop them. But if you watch like Steptoe and Son, the words they would use, you'd be like, oh my God, they would not use that today. So you can see how people at them times were brought up, not just in their household, it was what was going on outside. You know, like I'm telling you about adverts with, you know, mixed culture, black and whites with half caste kids. Not is it half caste kids, yeah? No,
Mixed race.
mixed race kids. Sorry.
Half caste. Like,
You know what I'm
you're
saying?
So fucking, you're stuck in the 80s.
I'm not stuck in the 80s, but what I'm trying to explain to you is that at that time, you know, if you looked at any billboard, like a cigarette billboard, it was a white guy holding it or a white woman. If you saw, you know, a chocolate advert, it was all white guys. It was white woman. It was always just a. So you can imagine the people living here. It's what they were surrounded by, and I can tell you now that if you was back in them days and you had sort of like, I don't know. A beer being advertised and there was a black guy drinking it, there would be a lot to say about it. But what's going on here? So you can see how the mentality was. So, and that is not just their fault as well. Do you get what I mean? It's just their surroundings.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Anything else you want to add?
What else can I add about? Like, see, it's hard for me to go too deep into racism, because racism is, what is actually racism? Is it that we come from a different culture? Is it that we're different colours? What is it? What is it? Is it that we're different? You know, I say this in the book. You know, I say it in the book. If, you know, as well as talking about racism, you know, you can talk about prejudice, homophobia, you know, you have all these other differences out there, you know, we have all these bullying going on. You know, if I took your eyesight away, does any of this actually exist? Would you actually believe in any of it? So if you actually really think about it, it all lays with it. I'm not going to go too deep with these words because there's a wicked chapter in my book how I break it down into detail, or our book, that I break it down into detail about how the brain is connected to your eyes and your eyes are connected to the outside world, and all you need is a deluded brain that will transmit information through your eyes, and you end up, you know, giving yourself a conclusion of wrongness. You understand what I mean? A polluted thought. And it's all down to what you see through your eyes. Because if I took your eyes away, what colour am I?
Yeah.
You know, am I skinny? Am I fat? You know, there's homophobia. Does that exist if I took your eyesight away? It's only because I could see it, I allow it to transmit into my brain and create thoughts that I don't agree with. Did you get what I mean by that? So I do say the eyes themselves have the biggest problem of all. You know, so, but in the chapter that I write, I go, well, I wrote it, you worked with it. You know, I break it down, racism as a whole. But yeah.
I hear you. I feel like we've spoken enough about it again without going too crazy into it. I mean, I don't know if you have any questions you want to ask me.
Look, at the end of the day, you know, I can ask you loads of questions. But, you know, we sit here and, you know, if I asked, you know, a black guy these questions, you know, have you ever been affected by racism? You know, and it's very important that they'll probably feel, yeah, I felt prejudice. You know, I felt being undermined at work. I felt like I weren't given opportunities at work and at school, and I felt like, you know, the other person, because he had an English name and not a foreign name, he was given that opportunity more. And, you know, does racism still exist? Yeah, of course it exists. It exists in all environments. I hear it. You know, I hear, you know, at work that I've got sort of like an Indian guy that works in the banking industry, and they're like, no, they won't give me enough. They give me promotion to a certain level, but they won't take me to the top. You know, and he says it's you know, when you start getting to the top of these big companies, you start to see this white power up there. Do you get what I mean? You see, they won't allow different people to come in. So they'll keep you where they need to keep you. But then on the other hand, you know, like I said to you previously, you know, it's down to you to create your opportunities, you know, and don't have that sort of thought in your mind, because that thought in mind can create stoppage in your life. You know, he won't do it because of that. He won't do this because of that. And I wouldn't want you to think that.
I get you. You've raised some good points.
So you being at school, did you see any racism?
It was funny because when you were going into detail about how, you know, you had this kind of community at school and that kind of community at school, I think straight off the back, I wouldn't have said that my school was racist. I mean, it was extremely multicultural. You had people from all different backgrounds. But what I did notice is once, obviously, we started progressing in the school years, so from year 7 all the way up to, like, I'll reflect back to, like, year 11, there was a divide. I mean, we would say it ourselves, like, oh, the white lot. Because it was, like, these were, like, kids that were in the top sets. And they were predominantly white. And then never really heard...
You know, when you say, like, you guys there turn around and you say the white lot, how did you feel by saying that?
Well, it wasn't something I said. Not that.
Who would say that?
Predominantly my black friends.
Right, so when you see, this is what I tried to explain. By you sitting there, being light complexion, being with your black friends, and they saying the white lot, how does that sound to you?
It was interesting, actually, because it's strange. You know, like a little bit like yourself, you're not really knowing where you fit in that sense. I never, like, it's very clear, I'm not a black person. I don't have any black in me at all. Like, I have nothing other than simply Spanish or wherever else the bloody DNA test says that we're from. But right off the back, it's very clear to see that, like, what my skin colour is. But I never felt like I fit in with the white lot. The white friends that I had. Do you get what I mean? But I don't know if that was down to skin colour or if that was just down to...
Interest,
yeah.
Right.
Because within my friend group, I had... Most of my friends were either Jamaican or African, but there was a few of my friends that were white, just white English. I don't know if they had, like, Irish roots or wherever, but it wasn't never really looked at in a different way other than, oh, it's just our group. Do you know what I mean? Whereas when you looked at other friendship groups, for example, like I just said there, the white lot, we'll call them the clever lot, yeah? Because they were like the top set people, whatever.
But did they use the term white lot?
Who? The white lot?
No. Did your black friends use the term the white lot?
Yeah.
Right. So you, at that time, this is what I'm trying to get to.
Did it make me feel uncomfortable?
No, yeah. By them saying, oh yeah, you see the white lot over there, yeah? La 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 la. How did that make you feel?
No type of way.
No kind of way.
No.
Right. So this is what I'm trying to explain. Because some people can say these sort of things and not realise, but by you being in that environment, you didn't even take that serious. But if they had a white friend there that heard that, he wouldn't like it.
No, I disagree.
What, the white? You disagree?
Yeah, because it was openly done and everyone they kind of called themselves it. Like, it wasn't in that way. Because...
I don't think so.
But I know so.
I don't think we're the white lot.
Yeah.
I don't think so, Rhea. We're the white
How can
lot.
you not... How can you say you don't think so? You didn't go to my school. You don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so I'll put it this way. So the white kids turned around and said the black lot.
But it wasn't just the black lot. This is what I'm trying to explain. It was a mixture. Our group was mixture.
Okay. I mean, it was you that just said, there was a black lot and a white lot.
No, I didn't. I said...
You said you sort of like related to the black lot.
You're putting words in my mouth.
No, I'm just trying to...
My friends...
I know, but what I'm trying to do, I'm not trying to catch you out in any way.
Yeah.
It's not what I'm here to do. What I'm trying to do is create scenarios, not trying to examine, try to look at your scenarios, to look at how an environment is and so easily become...
I think what it is as
split.
well, right? What I think it is when it comes to, like, this is my opinion, right? When it comes to race, so the color of your skin or your ethnic background, I think what's very important is to not ignore where people come from. Don't ignore someone's skin color. It's important to acknowledge it. You acknowledge that we're different skin tones. We acknowledge that we come from different ethnic backgrounds. We acknowledge our culture's different. Because if you ignore it, in my opinion, I feel like that's a little bit racist in itself. I feel like you should embrace where someone comes from, acknowledge it, and, like, you know, continue to integrate with each other, continue to mingle. There is no discrimination. There is no animosity due to that reason. So although, like I just said to you, back in the days when I was in school, yes, there was a little bit of, I wouldn't even say it was segregation, because it wasn't. You just had friends that were all white, friends that were mixed cultures. Like I said, I was part of that mixed cultured group. We acknowledged everyone's differences, but it never stopped everyone from interacting. Like, when we got to a certain time of, like, the schooling, so year 11, whenever there would be a party, everyone would come. It wouldn't just be the white lot or the multicultural lot. It's just that they gravitated towards each other more. I don't know if that was due to interest or that was just due to areas that they lived in, but there was a significant group. There were significant groups. It just never stopped each other from interacting with each other. There was no hate towards each other.
I'm not saying hate. I'm not saying that, you know, the white boys were fighting the black boys or the white. I'm not saying there was hate. But what I was saying is there was separation. And when there was separation, and I'm not saying for people all need to be mixed up. I'm not saying that. But what I'm trying to say to you is how it just happens.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what I'm trying to explain to you.
I agree.
I'm not trying to say to you, oh, well, the white guys were over here and the black guys were over here and the Asian guys. No. You're going to find the white guys will communicate with the white guys better.
Yeah.
The black guys will communicate with the black guys better. They eat the same food. They come from the same background. They understand the same culture. The same with that there. So this is what I'm trying to say about how it's so easy to be in an environment where all you need is someone to gaslight something. Do you get what I mean? And feed on someone's innocence. So when you said the white lot, yeah, that itself is keeping people segregated. I know it sounds really weird what I'm telling you, but this is how I'm trying to say to you how easy it is, even in today's world, in today's schools. So that is why it's important that when we spoke about in education, that certain certain lessons have to be brought into the educational curriculum. Is I feel like schools themselves need to bring this in a little bit more. Do you understand what I mean? Not always talk about, the Second World War, about the Germans. Yeah, so this is why when I was talking about education, and I said about certain subjects need to be implemented back into the educational curriculum. And the reason why I said that is this is a perfect example. You know, as much as there's stereotypical stuff going on with kids and stuff like that, it happens with teachers, it happens with managers, bosses, or whatever. But what I do believe is that the system itself, the educational system, has to move on a little bit, and they have to integrate different cultures into each other, so you learn about that. So when you do come across it in the street, you don't find it alien, you don't find it fearful, you don't find it that you want to move away from it. You know, you just embrace it and take it on your chin. And if you don't want to hold on to it, don't hold on to it. But at the end of the day, you know, it's something that you would find, I wouldn't say totally beneficial to you, but it's something that's additional to you. So that's where I say schools themselves need to, I'm not going to say break these kids up that you're talking about, but not make them fearful of each other.
Yeah.
Because by you saying the white lot or the black lot, there is an element of fear behind that. It's like, yeah, we can't, they're the white lot.
No, it wasn't like that.
There is.
It wasn't like that, Dad.
There is.
No, this is why I felt the need to explain further, because I feel like you took that in a bit more of a thingy way than what I meant it. We were all friends. Everyone was friends.
I said it to you just now.
Yeah.
You lot are not fighting with each other.
No, but you're implementing an element of fear, and there is no fear. There was no fear. It wasn't feared. There wasn't.
All right.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
But yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, like that's just how I interpreted it. Maybe I was just ignorant. Maybe there was. But as far as I was aware...
I can tell you now.
Yeah.
There was.
All right.
All right. And I'll tell you why there was. It's because there was a separation. And because there's a separation, it doesn't mean there's always a separation on good terms. It means that we just bonded together. And why is it that two colours have bonded together? Why is it that two individual colours have bonded to each other? Why? Why haven't they mixed up then?
I don't know.
Because there's an element, one, they relate. And second, there's this element of fear. And that's what it is. It's like you're going to find that, oh yeah, do you know what? I can't mix with my black friends because all my white mates are going to fucking piss on me. They're going to think I'm a wrong un. It doesn't always mean fear is of the opposite side. The fear can always mean in your camp.
I get you. I understand where you're coming from.
All right? So this is where I say how it can really entrap you without realising. So that's why I'm not saying you're wrong. But what I am saying is that you might not have felt that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. From where I'm sat, that's not how I perceived it.
Yeah.
But who's to say that it wasn't?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, is what it is. Anything else you want to add to it?
Yeah, your school was racist.
No, it wasn't though.
I'm
it wasn't.
joking.
I know you're joking.
Joking.
You see how me and Dad sometimes we're on thin ice with each other. We're there and we're like...
See, racism is a hard one because it would be really nice to sit here with sort of like, you know...
different cultured people. Different backgrounds.
You know, like a black guy. Not even just a black guy and a white guy. I want to hear it from a Chinese guy. Now, we don't talk about Chinese people in this world, in this UK. Do you get what I mean? I feel like they're left. You know, when I feel like they've got so much to offer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think they're so skilled and so smart and so artistic and so cultural. I think it's beautiful. Do you know what I mean? I feel like their dress sense is phenomenal. I feel like just the way, if I watch their films look different and I find them amazing. And I feel like, why don't we explore these cultures?
Did you enjoy that film?
What one?
The Korean film.
What was the Korean film?
Parasite.
It was okay.
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was so good.
No, but listen, look, you can see exactly Parasite. What was the other one? Squid Ball.
Squid Games.
Squid Game. Squid Game, yeah? Is it Squid Game?
Have you watched Squid Games?
Squid Games. You could see how they
Have you watched it?
Yeah, I watched it.
Well, you don't say yeah. You
just
just
told
start
you just
talking.
there.
No, you didn't. You said Squid Ball.
You starting with me. Squid Ball. I'm only just...
Did he answer me? No, he didn't, did he? But anyway, yeah, Squid Ball.
Right, what is it called? Squid Ball or Squid Game?
Squid Game.
Squid Game. Right, Squid Game. I watched it. I think there's 2.
No, there's a game show.
Was it? Okay, but what I'm trying to get to, yeah, is how wonderful certain cultures are.
Yeah.
You know, and even though we talk about that, you know, we can talk about other cultures. Even if, you know, talk about cultures from the Middle East. You know, we can talk about cultures from Africa. You know, and they're just so amazing. And that's why it ain't always just about the white and the black. Do you get what I mean? There's a lot more involved than, you know, than just white and black culture or white and black skin colour. You know, when I feel like the world is so big, you know, so we shouldn't have time for racism. You get what I mean? I think racism as well, you know, it is created a little bit from, you know, the governments, you know, the world leaders, you know, like taking over countries and that's my country, this is my... That's an element of racism in a way. Do you get what I mean? Even if you both are white.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean because you're both white you're not racist. I just don't like your culture. I don't like your ethnicity. You get what I'm trying to say? Right now, you know, we have Russians fighting Ukrainians. You know, they just look exactly the bloody same people. But there you go. You know, so this is the horrible world that we live in, and it's mass. And then sometimes, or what happens is you have little minute little bits that happen in the world that individual people have it.
Yeah. I hear you. So I guess racism as a whole, you could sit here talking about it all day. Like I said, opinions, they will differ. You'll find similarities, but overall, racism isn't great, is it? So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, in the book, we do, like I said to you, I don't directly say racism. I just say being treated differently. Do you get what I mean? And being treated differently. I'm not being treated the right way. And it probably didn't just happen to me. It's happened to millions of people out there in their own way, in their own right, in their own environment. And that's why, like, when I say about, you know, racism in the book, you know, was it about my skin colour? Was it about my background? Was it about the way, you know, we spoke or looked? Do you get what I'm trying to say? That created that difference. You know, was it my religion? Even though I weren't religious. You know, was it the way I dressed? Was it because I was short? Because I was dark? What is it? And, you know, sometimes you sit there and you're looking for these things in yourself. And you're trying to fault yourself. And you're looking at the other person to say, fault me. You get what I'm trying to say? So, yeah, it's a hard one. It is a hard one.
All right, well, we'll wrap it up. I hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. All comments are welcome. If you have enjoyed today's video, please make sure that you like. If you're not subscribed to our channel already, we'd love you to subscribe. It only takes 1 second. I felt like you were going to say something then.
No, I'm not going to say anything.
Yep, you can stream our podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Yeah, I mean, I think what we're doing at the moment is we're going to do a few serious ones, a little bit of a light-hearted one, a few serious ones, a little bit of a light-hearted one. So I guess this was more on the serious side today.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. This podcast could have got a lot worse. Do you get what I mean? Could have got a lot really serious. Like,
Yeah,
really, like,
yeah.
it could be argumentative.
Yeah.
You know, and this is what it does.
Yeah.
You know, you either, you know, you embrace it and enjoy it, or you become protective.
Yeah.
And you argue.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? And don't take on other people's views. So, you know, I can sometimes look at, you know, I can hear my my older generation, I hear them talk, and I hear them talk about different cultures and stuff, and I can hear an element of racism. You know what I mean? And I feel like, oh, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to fuel a fire that we can't win.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? But I understand them as well. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I hope you've enjoyed today. I'm hopefully going to get some sleep tonight. I'm not going to drink no Dr. Pepper.
So yeah, we'll be back next week, guys. Sunday, 5:00. We will be giving you another upload. Yeah, comments are welcome. Like I said, let us know your thoughts, feelings. I know racism is a really broad subject, so I'm pretty sure you lot have got a lot to say about it. But it's important we discuss sometimes the subjects people avoid discussing. So yeah,
it's important.
But it's been a pleasure, guys. I hope you have a lovely evening.
Love, peace, and I'm out of here later.